Morning. It's the end of August. It's about 5:30 a.m. Just got back from a vacation in the Grand Tetons and Yellowstone, and we got to see the eclipse. So this picture is a cell phone shot of the Grand Tetons at Schwabacher Landing. Today what I'd like to do for you is show you a video of how to set up the spectrum window in N1MM logger, and let's start out with it badly misadjusted. But before we get into the adjustments, I want to explain a little bit about what the colors mean. The dark blue in the top spectrum display is the instantaneous signal. The light blue is an averaged signal, which is averaged. I'll right click here, either fast, medium, or slow decay speed. If I switch it to fast, it will decay faster. You can see that the light blue doesn't stay up as high as long. But I'll put it back on slow, and we can adjust the spectrum display from here. You'll notice there's a lot of red dots at the bottom. Those are eventually going to show us the signals on the band. I'm on 40 meters. It's open to VKZL right now. And as we adjust it, you'll see that the number of signals will drop from over here at 99 down to a reasonable number. The first thing that's wrong is that the width of the spectrum is way too wide. When you have a 1 kilohertz resolution for each pixel, you can't really tune in a signal very accurately. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on CW, and we're going to get that spectrum down to something reasonable. Now, I happen to be using an IC7300, and with other SDRs, you're going to have a different way of adjusting this. If it's not a 7300, then you're going to want to adjust it in the software that produces the spectrum for your radio. And what you want to do is reduce the width of each pixel down to around 40 is a good number for CW. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tune down to the CW portion of the band, say around 35. And here we are. We still have way too many signals. We've got 41 signals here. Well, the other thing that's wrong here is we have a lot of noise coming in, and each spectrum radio or each SDR has a way of adjusting the level of noise, and we really don't need this much grass, as it were, to show up the dark blue instantaneous signals here. So what I'm going to do is on the 7300 itself, I'm going to adjust that down. Right now it's up at a 20 dB, plus 20 dB reference level. I'm going to drop that down to where we just start seeing a little bit of grass there. Okay, so now you see the dark blue showing up a little bit. That's at about 13.5. I'm going to drop it down to 13 dB. So we have it at 13 dB, but we still have way too many signals. Well, that is because we have noise and we have static. And so let's raise the noise level of the spectrum display up until most of those signals go away, because we know that 40 meters at this hour of the morning only has a few signals on it. So if I raise, by using the mouse wheel, raise this blue line, you can see it jumping up there. You can see how many signals there are. If I drop it down to something close to near where the noise level is, we'll get signals. The problem, though, is that as those signals show up, we're getting static, so we're still getting way too many signals here. So I'm going to raise up the static detection until we start seeing this static flash a little bit, signifying that we're filtering out the static crashes. I'm going to turn the radio up now so you can hear. You can hear some static crashes in there. And as they are coming in, they'll get filtered out by the static filter. So I'm going to crank it up Now you're seeing a few of them get filtered out. And if I raise the noise floor slightly, now we've got a reasonable number of signals. And you can see in the waterfall that we have a trace here, a trace here, a trace here, a trace here, and the program is picking up these signals and marking them on the thing. So if I click on one that's transmitting right now, you hear that's a continuous signal. If I tune over to here, another continuous signal, and there's one way down here, perhaps. He's not transmitting right now, but we'll wait for one that is transmitting, and then we'll jump to it. A few more features here while we're waiting for signals to show up is down in the lower part you have the waterfall display, and there's a pair of green lines, blue lines I guess they are, that show you the nominal bandwidth of the filter that you're using. This is based on what the program thinks you're using for a filter. You can set in the program a wide filter, a narrow filter, and that filter is represented here. For CW, I believe it's 250 hertz, or for a narrow filter, or 500 hertz for a wide filter. So that's that. Also, if you press the control key, you will also see a red pair of bars, and that is to set your transmit frequency. So if you wanted to transmit on 7031, or you wanted to transmit on top of this signal right over here, you could click that, and then that would become your, as you can see up here on the right, upper right, that would become your transmit frequency. But let's go back to this signal and see this guy. He's transmitting, kind of watery, but the red dots represent signals, and the radio or the spectrum display will tune your radio to that signal and center it in the bandpass. And that's, if you have up here set snap to signal, that will be the behavior. If you turn that off, then it will just tune to whatever exact frequency you choose in the upper part of the display. If you click in the upper part of the display, it's going to jump to a frequency and snap to signal if that's on. If you're in the lower part of the display, it does not snap to signal. It will just go to that particular frequency. So if we click there, it goes to that frequency. If we click over here, it goes to that frequency. Also, if you use the waterfall and go there, you can use the mouse wheel in the lower part of the display to tune the signal in. And you can hear it tuning down as I scroll. And that's that part. Okay, I want to show you another feature, which is that we can show spots. So I'm going to turn the telnet window on and let spots start showing up. And that's open, and I'm going to display a few. Okay, N1MM showed up. So one of the features we've got is that when we move in the lower part of the screen in the waterfall and we get close to the spot, there will be a frame around the spot. Up here you'll see a frame, and you can see over here on DR60 SAL the frame lights up, and VK3, and so on. Okay, so let me turn off the spots for now because we don't want it to fill up with lots of bogus spots. And if I go over here and click on this little arrow here, I get some menus I can choose. And I can choose to show only unknown signals. I can show various kinds of spots. And I can set self-spot of signals above the threshold. That one's just started. It's working moderately well in CW and not very well at all in single sideband, but we'll make that work better as time goes on. The purpose of that is to get spots into the available window so you can manipulate them there as you might otherwise do. Okay, so a couple other things I wanted to show you is I wanted to go up to single sideband and show you that. So let's go over to single sideband. Now the first thing you want to do in single sideband is you want to set the bits per pixel, the hertz per pixel, to a higher level. So we're going to zoom out one step, so we have about 105 hertz. 100 hertz is a pretty good setting, because then you get enough on the screen and you're not taking up a large part of the screen with your bandwidth. So here we have some signals here, and let's click on, let's see, is anybody there? No, we're too low in the band. So let's move on up. And we have a signal. It's like we have a signal maybe up here. And see if we can tune him in. Or maybe this one here. There we go. And that was Papa Victor 8 Alpha Lima. There's an option I've just added, may not be until the next release, is round single sideband signals to nearest 0.5 kilohertz. I've made that not the default, and I've made it not sticky, because I expect that it's only going to be useful in casual DXing. In contest, people don't pay much attention to exactly what frequency they're on. Maybe on 40 meters split they do, but I don't think this is going to be a terribly useful contesting feature, but it is a convenient thing to have when you're DXing. So I'll turn that on, and what that does is anytime I click, you'll see down here, you can't see it in the lower right, but the frequency has jumped to an even, should be jumping to an even kilohertz, 179.5, and it only does that on detected signals, the red dots. So if I jump over here, it's now on 182.00. If I jump over here, it's on 171.5. So let's see if we can find another signal here. Somebody at 180? No. Oh yeah, there he is. You can also tune by using the waterfall, of course, and this is there's a little better. So I've been working a lot on the single sideband signal detection, and that will continue to improve as I make more changes there. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you in this this video to help you operate. We have the static sensitivity set too high, so there's a little message up here that says turn it down, so I'm going to turn it down so it's not as bad. What you'll find is that you get a lot more noise as you make the hertz per pixel higher. The wider the bandwidth you display in general, the more noise you'll get. So you may want to adjust your static filter down when you increase the bandwidth that you're displaying. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it lets you use the spectrum window more effectively with your radio. 73, this is Tom, N1MM. Bye-bye.